Perhaps you found ham radio online, or your friend is a ham, or someone in your family, and you started thinking to yourself, that could be a hobby for me. I'm really curious about that. And so you began looking online for videos or different things, and you started to ask yourself a logical question of, which ham radio should I buy, or which ham radio should I look at picking up? I posit today that the question shouldn't start with what radio should you buy, but who are you going to talk to? How's it going, everybody? My name is Josh. My amateur radio call sign is KI6NAZ. There's one question I get more than any other question, and I've got hundreds of videos up now talking about amateur radio, and it is, what radio should I buy? And the reality is, and I think I've actually had a bit of an epiphany on this, the question should be, who are you going to talk to? What is your goal in communication? And then that changes the radio to be more of a tool than a particular thing to lust after. I grab a hammer when I have to drive a nail. I grab a screwdriver when I need to work on a kit or a piece of electronic to take a screw out. That should be no different with amateur radio. It's about communicating two sides together, whether they are going to be long distance across the country, across the state, or locally within the realm of, your own city. And that's the focus of this video. Once you know who it is you plan to talk to, then you can narrow it down to the appropriate solution. But first, I want to talk specifically to those that are interested in getting their technician license, or maybe already got their technician license and are looking at what radio they should get. The first thing we have to understand and keep in mind is that most people with technician licenses will use VHF and UHF radios, which we call the 2 meter and the 70 centimeter band, which is part of our amateur radio technician privileges. It's what you're granted to use when you have your license. Now, technicians can use 10 meters and 6 meters and up into the HF bands as well, which we'll talk about, but the predominant case for technicians is that they use 2 meters and 70 centimeters. Now, I've done other videos where I talk about specific radios, but I want to dive in on this particular point of VHF-UHF radios and where you live and spend most of the time. For those in the United States, the FCC has a ULS database. It's basically a search engine that you can pull up license holders in the myriad of different licenses that they have for wireless communication. If you go to that search engine, and the link is in the description, and you select HA for amateur, and then put in your zip code or your city, and then I want you to select active licenses a little bit further down the screen. The reason for that is you're going to be talking to people that have active licenses, not expired licenses or whatever. So select active licenses and do a search. So you've typed in your zip code, you run a search. How many hits do you get back? Are you looking at potentially hundreds of people that are active amateurs in your location, or are you looking at 2? The next thing I did is I went to the ARRL website for Find a Club. Link is also in the description. You can also put in your city and your state or county, and then you can give a certain range if you're using your zip code. 20 miles, 50 miles, etc. There, do the search and see if you get back a lot of affiliated clubs. Again, if you get scant replies, so that made me a little concerned, because as we know, VHF-UHF radios are line-of-sight radios. And for those of you that are hearing this the first time, what that implies is that when you're holding your radio and you're transmitting, in the case of a handheld, the RF is coming straight out in an omnidirectional pattern from your antenna. That RF is just going to keep going until it's either absorbed by something it hits, like a tree or a building, or just keep going on out into the atmosphere in a straight line away from you, which will eventually either get absorbed by the atmosphere or pierce right through it. Meaning you're really only going to be able to RFC as far as you can get to the horizon. If you increase the height of your antenna, or the height of you standing on a mountain, for instance, you'll get out further, but line of sight is pretty much what you're limited to. So going back to these searches, if there's not a lot of hams in your area, well then who are you going to be talking to? You can take this one more step further, which I implore people to do this, particularly those that are starting out and going down this road. Go to repeaterbook.com and do a map query. Just start clicking in your state and then your county and then your city further and further and further, and you will get a list of repeaters that are active in your area. Some of those repeaters will be digital repeaters, some of them will be analog, traditional FM repeaters, and that will also give you a good indication of how many people are actually transmitting and using radios in your area. If you really want to be sure, pick up one of these SDR dongles, software-defined radio dongles. They sell them in kits that sometimes include antennas, and these connect to your computer via USB. These are great because they work really well on VHF/UHF 2 meter and 70 centimeter bands for amateur radio privileges. And you can use these to see exactly what activity is going on with the waterfall that's displayed. Makes it really handy, and you'll get a pretty quick idea if it's worth your time to start out by buying expensive or potentially expensive VHF/UHF radios. For those really new, ham radios that are handheld are generally 2 meters and 70 centimeters. Again, close in range. They're likely the radios you use for maybe a few miles of communication. There's something called mobile radios, which are generally put in cars. They offer 50 watts of power output. That's considerably more power from an HT, but generally is still going to be limited based off of that line of sight VHF/UHF capability. Now, if you've gone through and kind of did something like I did, you found that there aren't a lot of hams, there aren't a lot of repeaters, and there's not a lot of clubs, all hope is not lost. Don't worry, this is not the end of the video. The next thing you can consider is possibly getting involved with digital modes. For me personally, I'm not a big digital voice user, primarily because they generally require leveraging the internet for that communication. Because of that, though, you can, from your home in an area where there's very few hams, connect to somebody in California or Alaska or Japan. That capability exists. Just keep in mind that you're likely going to need additional hardware, something called a hotspot, an internet connection, and an appropriate digital radio like this Yaesu FT5DR. If you potentially don't want to go down the digital radio avenue, that's fine. The other option for you is high frequency radio, HF radio, which happens to be my favorite aspect of amateur radio. With these radios, which can be more expensive and are oftentimes bigger than handheld VHF/UHF radios, we're able to make that cross-country and into international communications. From our antenna to the destination antenna, we can talk throughout the day over radio. Of course, to fully utilize the many bands that are available to amateurs, you will need to upgrade your license to general. And so the crux of this video is, once you have considered the area around you, the hams in your area, the activity of your local ham radio space, if you find that it's a little bit empty, maybe you should look into HF radio and really growing your capability by putting up a much bigger antenna in general, but a bit more rewarding because there'll actually be people out there that will reply and interact and be involved in your having fun with this hobby. I mentioned it throughout these videos, but I have a myriad of videos that go deeper into what you can do with your technician license, many different radios that work for technicians, as well as stepping into HF radios that generals and amateur extras use. Now, I appreciate that a lot of what I talked about was United States centric, but there are many other options and query and capability that you can do to follow along with this in your home country. Of course, I don't know what your FCC equivalent might be, but I'm sure it exists, and you can probably query it to find license holders. You can definitely find out local ham clubs, and if all else fails, use an SDR dongle and actually get proof by receiving RF of locals in your area. If you found this helpful and you're particularly starting out in ham radio, go ahead and hit subscribe and check out my playlist that's titled "Are You New to Ham Radio? Start Here." And it gives you an overview of many different videos in this topic. What I tell people to do is just look at the playlist, and if you find something that's interesting to you, watch it, see if it's helpful, and then just keep going down the rabbit hole. That's pretty much what I did when I was starting out, and as I continue to learn more in amateur radio. I'm Josh, KI6NAZ. Thanks so much for watching the Ham Radio Crash Course, and I'll talk to you later. See ya. How's it going, everybody? I'm Josh, KI6NAZ. Here's my sons, Ben and Edison. They really wanted to be in the opening. Today, I'm going to go over something I've gone over in the past, but I have a whole new method of doing this, and I think it's going to help out a lot of people. Let's talk about what should be your first ham radio. 20 miles, 50 meters, etc., or 50 miles.